You know, I got this really strange letter through the post and I haven't opened it yet, so it just says movie worm. That's me. So I better open it. There we go. I wonder what this could be. Anyway. I know what you did last summer. Oh, there's something else here. Oh, that's a bit of a relief. Please review I Know What You Did Last Summer. Maybe I will. I don't know. There's another bit of the note. Oh, die. I think I better get to it then. What is up everyone, we're back again with another horror revisited episode, and this is going to be for the 1997 movie I Know What You Did Last Summer, and this is directed by Jim Gillespie, starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ryan Phillipe. Now, I do tend to go into spoilers in these horror revisited episodes, and this review is going to contain those, so if you haven't seen the movie or you don't know what happens, then maybe turn this video off and then come back. But I'm sure most of you have seen I Know What You Did Last Summer anyway, so let's just get right into it. Now, this tells a story of a bunch of teenagers who accidentally run over a man in the middle of the road late at night. They don't really see him coming. It is an accident. And instead of calling the police, they decide to dump the body themselves. A year later, they start to get letters into the post and notes left for them saying, I know what you did last summer. So someone knows about the murder, and a bunch of horrific killings start to occur. Now, I watched this way back in the 90s when it first came out. A lot of these movies followed the success of Scream, these teenage slasher films, and I remember not really enjoying it too much because there was just so many coming out. I mean, nothing screams 90s like the cover art for this movie, does it? I mean, I talked about this in my Scream reviews, where it's just a bunch of teenagers just looking at the camera and that's the poster. It happened to so many films like The Faculty, this, and the Scream films, of course. However, on my revisit to this, I appreciated it much more this time and liked it a lot more than I remember. First of all, can I just say I love the premise of this film. Now, I know it follows them 90s movies and tries to build on the success by being a slasher film, and it's done in kind of the same way. However, story-wise, this felt very unique and fresh at the time. And even watching it now, 20 years later, it still felt like that. It is kind of a clever story. The first 20 minutes of this film is where the movie really shines, where these teenagers have got their whole lives ahead of them, they're about to go to college, and it's turned upside down within seconds, but only if they allow it to be. So like I said, the first 20 minutes, they do hit this guy on the road, and Ryan Phillipe is the character who is drunk and wasted, and it's his car, it's all in his name. And Freddie Prinze Jr. is driving a car. However, they decide that the police will not believe that Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character was driving this car. So you can sort of see their point. Now, they decide to dump the body. And I said to my fiance and said, what would you do in this situation if it was you? Because it was an accident. However, you're probably going to go to jail for it. And we said that we probably would go to the police because we couldn't live with the situation. And I think most people would. However, I do see other people going the alternative route, which is what these characters done in this film. So I thought that it was kind of clever the way they asked, what would you do in this situation? I kind of like that about the movie. Of course, Jennifer Love Hewitt's character Julie does feel this way as well, like I would. I would have went to the police and stuff because I couldn't live with it. And she's this very happily, bubbly character before all this happens. And a year later, when the movie jumps, you can tell it's really scarred her, it's bothering her, it's bringing her down, and you can tell she's half the person that she was. And I thought this was a really, really good performance from her to get this character nailed down. In fact, I really like 3 out of the 4 main characters in this. Sarah Michelle Gellar is in this, and I didn't really get the thing with Sarah Michelle Gellar in the 90s, I'm going to admit. I didn't really watch Buffy, so I didn't really see it hint too much. However, this is by far my favourite role of hers. I thought she was really good in this movie. She's like a princess with this little tiara, but she never comes across as a spoiled little girl or anything. In fact, there's one scene in the movie later on where her dad won't even speak to her when she says hello. Her sister's a bitch to her. So she was a character I got behind and rooted for, and I really enjoyed her performance in I Know What You Did Last Summer. However, I can't quite say the same for Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character in this movie. He just had nothing to him at all. I didn't like his character. He just felt like he didn't want to be there. His acting is really wooden at times. Ryan Phillippe's in this movie and he's a total arsehole and you hate the guy, but at least he's got personality and has something to him. Freddie Prinze Jr. just didn't do it for me in this film, so one character short of a home run there, I'm afraid. Now, this is a slasher film, of course, at heart, and when I seen Leonard from The Big Bang Theory get the hook into his face and dragged across the table, one of the first kills in the movie, I was just like, whoa. There was a big overhead camera shot and I thought, that's a proper slasher film kill, that one is. However, it's kind of the only interesting one throughout the film, which kind of dampened it a little bit. I mean, most of these kills are off camera and stuff, but that one was awesome. And speaking of the killer in this, I thought he had a really good look to him with this mac on and this fishing hat. And you never quite know who the killer is because you can't actually see him. And the movie starts to point the finger at everyone. The characters are going, oh, is it you? Is it him? You don't quite know who the killer is. So you're guessing, and kind of like Scream, you're doing the guessing game of who this killer is. And it's all filmed in this fishing town, and they captured the location of this really well. I mean, everyone in the town is into fishing, or their occupation is a fisherman. Not everyone, but most of the people that you see throughout the film. And all of them own these macs and these hats, these raincoats and stuff. So it really could be anyone in the town. And I thought that was a really important aspect of the movie to capture that, because it does keep you guessing and keep you wondering who this killer is. But the look of him was fantastic. I was really invested in the first two acts of this film. I thought it was really well paced, really interesting story. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar go and find some information about this guy they ran over, and I was totally invested in the story. I was connected to them two characters, and it was, good to reveal some of the things that we find out. And you did wonder when this killer was going to take action instead of just teasing them. However, the third act does fall flat a little bit, I'm afraid. First of all, this hadn't happened throughout the movie, but in the third act, all the dumb horror cliches come into play here, which is a shame because it did kind of ruin the movie for me. It felt like a different vibe. First two acts were clever. This one just goes into that territory of stupidness. First of all, Sarah Michelle Gellar is running from this killer at one point, and her sister owns this store and she's banging on the glass to get in. She's petrified, she's so shaken up, and you can tell that she's really, really scared. And her sister just goes, okay, I'm dawdling to get to the door. I'm coming now, just stop panicking. And then I'd be like, oh my God, my sister's in distress. I need to open this door. But no, she just takes her time, waddles down the shop and goes, oh, I forgot my keys. Goes all the way back, dead slow. And it's like, oh my God, if my sister was in so much trouble, I would be doing everything I can to open that door. There's another scene where Ryan Phillippe's character's killed on a balcony. Sarah Michelle Gellar says to this cop, look, he was up there, the killer's just killed him. And the cop's like, oh, you're just seeing things, there's no one up there. And it's blatantly obvious that her boyfriend was up there and he's gone missing. And no one believes it, which is stupid. Why would you lie about that? And to top it off, there's another moment where one of the characters is in the car and the policeman goes, I'm just going to go and check on this guy. And she goes, no, don't. He's the killer. And he goes, no, I'm going to check on him. And she's screaming and screaming. And he just turns around really slow and is killed. And then she's locked in the police car. Yeah, like I said, lots of dumb horror cliches here. Also, the killer overall, like his kills in this movie, was kind of a letdown. And it's mostly the movie's fault for making us point the finger at people. I mean, it hints who it could be all the way through this movie. Like, there's so many characters that this movie says it could be him, it could be him. And in the end, it's just some fisherman guy that we don't even know. Okay, the movie does tell us some information about him towards the end of the film, but I thought it was going to be a character that was in the whole runtime. If you're going to do that and just have some character brought in for the last act, don't have the audience play along with the mystery aspect of it. It just didn't work, and the killer himself was kind of bland as well. Now, this isn't a negative, by the way. This is more of a side note. But I could not stop thinking about Scary Movie when I watched this. That movie nailed this down so well. The actors in that film just got this down to a T, and there's so many moments where I just kept thinking of that film. I need to rewatch that. However, despite some of these little negatives, I still had a fun time revisiting this film. It's a 90s slasher, that's all it is really, but on the other hand, I do appreciate 90s horror a little bit more now. Back in the day, I was just overloaded with them, I think. But this was definitely better a second time. I'm rewatching this today, especially for the story. That was my favourite part of it, you know, especially the first couple of acts there. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give I Know What You Did Last Summer a 7 out of 10. Definitely worth a revisit today if you were a slasher fan in the 80s, the 90s or whatever. I feel like this is a good one. At the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, the fun fact for I Know What You Did Last Summer is that Kevin Williamson actually wrote this script before Scream. And no one would, you know, take it off his hands. However, after the success of Scream, Columbia Pictures bought the screenplay off him and made the movie. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this Horror Revisited episode. If you want more Horror Revisited episodes, the link will be down below. I've done the Scream movies, and I do have I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, and I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer coming as well. And then I'm going to be ranking all 3 of these films from worst to best. So look out for them. Thanks very much guys. Take it all easy, and I'll see you all next video.